10 new revelations about P Diddy's life inside New York City's violent jail. P Diddy is currently attempting his third bid for bail, and this time, the case will be presented before the federal district court. A judge has been assigned to the case, and Diddy's release will depend on their decision. For now, Diddy remains incarcerated in a Brooklyn jail, where his lawyers report terrible living conditions, including moldy food, cramped quarters, and no pillows on the beds. At 54, Diddy is entering his fourth week of confinement at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, living a life completely opposite from the luxury he enjoyed in his mansions in Miami and Los Angeles. Ironically, it was evidence gathered from those very homes that led to his arrest last March. Federal investigators raided Diddy's properties in Florida and California to collect evidence for the case against him. We now have a clearer picture of what they found, which includes several AR-15 rifles with scratched-off serial numbers, ammunition, and illegal drugs. However, Diddy is not facing charges related to the possession of these items. Instead, it was electronic evidence that led to charges against him in September. A key part of the indictment centers around elaborate requests satisfied at late-night parties involving naked women and celebrities, such as Leonardo DiCaprio, Kim Kardashian, and Justin Bieber. The government alleges that these events took place without the consent of the victims. The indictment also mentions that Diddy used drugs and alcohol mixed with other substances to coerce victims into engaging in lewd acts with him. Currently, the Federal Reserve claims they have evidence of these bizarre events, as Diddy often filmed the encounters. Investigators appear to have collected dozens of videos and over 100 devices, including cell phones, laptops, cloud accounts, and storage units. They allege that Diddy used these sensitive recordings to blackmail and control the victims, ensuring their silence. But now, those very recordings are being used as evidence to charge Diddy in a human trafficking conspiracy spanning decades. The allegations against Diddy have been circulating for a long time, with victims accusing him of abuse as far back as 1991. Last November, Cassandra Ventura, Diddy's ex-girlfriend, filed a civil lawsuit against him, alleging years of physical and emotional abuse during their relationship. Cassie also referenced Diddy's recordings and how he used them to control her. Since then, dozens of other civil lawsuits have been filed, all following a similar pattern, accusing Diddy of drugging victims, assaulting them, and filming the acts. This led to Diddy's prosecution and arrest, and more lawsuits are likely to follow. Houston-based attorney Tony Busby has revealed that he is preparing to file 120 new civil lawsuits against Diddy, with even more shocking allegations. Diddy has been a prominent figure for decades, living a life of luxury and enjoying his massive fortune with estates in major cities. But now he is confined to a grim prison, a stark contrast for someone accustomed to being pampered and never having to wait. Incarceration has brought about a complete shift in Diddy's life. It's truly a life-changing moment. Currently, Diddy is the only person indicted in this case, leading to his confinement at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York. This prison is notoriously dangerous, and despite offering $50 million for bail, Diddy's request has been denied. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on more intriguing behind-the-scenes stories from the world of entertainment. Now, let's explore the 10 newest details about Diddy's current life in prison. Number 10. The prison is like a living hell. Diddy's new reality is harsh and couldn't be more different from the luxurious life he lived in his $35 million, 8,000 square foot mansion in Miami, where he was constantly protected by private security and surrounded by family and friends. Back in January 2019, an extended power outage plunged the prison into chaos, leaving inmates in darkness for a week and forcing them to endure the brutal cold of the Northeast. One inmate, who had been at MDC for 3 months in 2019, described the place as horrifying. There's no ventilation, and the food is terrible. Prison consultant Sam Mangle has described parts of the facility as a living hell and added, MDC is probably the worst federal jail in the country. Inmates are under 24/7 surveillance, with fluorescent lights and cameras always on. Diddy endures full-body searches every time he leaves his cell. Inmates deemed a danger to themselves are given rubber shoes and special eating utensils, and even personal items like toothbrushes need approval. This place is reserved for dangerous criminals and high-profile individuals. Around 30 inmates in this section are housed in cells that are smaller than usual. A source said there's also a recreation area of only about 500 square feet. Number 9. Fear of eating due to poisoning concerns. Former inmate Larry Levine, who was once held at the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, told News Nation that the food there is heavy on carbs, bland, and sometimes even moldy. For Diddy, meals often arrive cold and late because he's in the last group to receive food. Moreover, his high-profile status puts him at risk of being poisoned through his meals. Sources say the food is far from appetizing, with dishes like chili, shredded chicken with rice, and a thin, leathery burger served on Wednesdays. One former inmate recalled, "The daily menu usually includes oatmeal and bran for breakfast, chicken sandwiches for lunch, and Salisbury steak for dinner." After a while, inmates can buy extra food from the prison's commissary, such as tuna packs for $3.45, seasoning, and chocolate bars. Everyone tries to shop for extra food to improve their meals. However, a source revealed that Diddy refused to eat soon after his incarceration out of fear of being poisoned. A fellow inmate shared with the media, "Imagine if someone got paid to poison his food, give him a heart attack, and kill him." In Diddy's bail request, his lawyers pointed out that some courts in the area have acknowledged that the conditions at MDC are unsuitable for pretrial detention. Previously, the New York Times reported that the lawyer for Edwin Cordo, an inmate who died after a fight in prison, had highlighted the horrific conditions his client had endured. In a letter to a federal judge in June, the lawyer described the federal prison as overcrowded, understaffed, and neglected, much like a living hell. What do you think about the food here? Share your thoughts. Number 8. No pillows in prison. Diddy's daily life behind bars is a far cry from what he rapped about and flaunted on social media, where he lived with the constant service of personal chefs, assistants, and a staff ready to cater to his every need. Now, instead of waking up to the lavish interiors of his mansion, Diddy faces cold, white concrete walls. He must adhere to a strict schedule for meals, showers, and laundry. At MDC, nearly 1,600 inmates are required to wake up at 6 a.m. every day. The charges against Diddy have become an issue within the prison system, causing him to face frequent scolding and threats from other inmates. The most unsettling part is that he sleeps on a steel bed with a mattress only about 1.5 inches thick, no pillow, and inside a 6 by 9 feet cell that, according to a source, I can assure you, is absolutely miserable. The area where Diddy is being held offers just a narrow 3 by 5 feet space for him to move around. Number 7. Violence is common in prison. Diddy's case has been assigned to Judge A.E. Subramanian, appointed by President Joe Biden in 2022 and who began serving in 2023. Before that, she clerked for Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg and oversaw the Department of Justice's antitrust case against Ticketmaster, following the website crash during the 2022 Taylor Swift concert ticket sales. MDC is notorious for violence, squalid living conditions, and inmate suicides. Consistently understaffed, frequently on lockdown, and plagued by violence, with delays in medical care for prisoners. In 2020, inmate Jamal Floyd died after being pepper-sprayed by guards, and in July, Edwin Cordo was killed in a fight. This place is terrible. Rats are running around everywhere, and no one should have to live like that. Diddy might be a big deal out there, but in here, he's just another guy. It's a completely different world. Diddy's legal team has highlighted the notorious dangers of the prison, with his lawyer Mark Newman pointing out serious issues like violence, poor living conditions, overcrowding, and understaffing. He cited alarming statistics, including 2 inmates being killed at MDC since June. Number 6. Frequent body searches. Although Diddy is no longer under suicide watch, he remains in a special protective unit alongside Sam Bankman-Fried, who was convicted of fraud and money laundering last November, following the collapse of the FTX cryptocurrency exchange. Both are housed in a separate area of MDC reserved for inmates requiring special protection. According to some sources, Diddy is subjected to frequent body searches at any time. This is far from a pleasant experience. Diddy must strip completely naked, guards inspect his mouth, then ask him to turn around, bend over, spread his legs, cough, and finally lift his genitals and squat. A lawsuit filed on behalf of the inmates claims they endure harsh sanitary conditions, with toilets in their cells often broken and not promptly repaired, making the living situation extremely uncomfortable. Number 5. Limited communication with other inmates. Diddy's wealth and assets hold no value in the federal prison system. The conditions here are extremely restrictive. Being held in administrative isolation, Diddy has no opportunity to interact with other inmates. There's no TV or radio. Instead, inmates are issued a Bible and one other book each week. Even if Diddy were transferred to the general population, things wouldn't improve much. There are hundreds of inmates, but only a few TVs, and they are typically divided by race. Diddy also faces strict limitations on communicating with the outside world. He only has 300 minutes of phone time per month, so if he uses 30 minutes a day, he runs out of time after 10 days and won't be able to make any more calls for the remaining 20 days. Some inmates run out of minutes within the first week and are left talking to themselves. After nearly a month at MDC, Diddy has managed to speak with his children on the phone and even had family visits. Additionally, he can send and receive emails, though it costs about 5 cents per minute, according to Blair G., a former MDC inmate from 2016. Blair also mentioned that the emails are closely monitored, allowing only text, with no images or attachments. Visiting hours are restricted, and visitors must undergo thorough background checks. What are your thoughts on this? Feel free to share your opinion. Number 4. Difficulties in preparing a defense. Diddy is currently being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, and his legal team has raised numerous concerns about the conditions there. Of course, no prison is ideal, but the situation at MDC appears to be worse than many other places. Do you think that if Diddy is denied bail, his lawyers might request a transfer to another facility before trial? They will likely try everything they can to make that happen. While there are legitimate concerns about pursuing Diddy without concrete evidence, it's important to remember that all prisons are tough, and some are worse than others. If they transfer him, the question arises as to why he would be given special treatment. Perhaps because of his contributions to the world, but arguing that this prison is worse isn't the main strategy. Currently, Diddy is in a special protective unit due to his celebrity status. If he were moved to the general population, would he face risks? Possibly, as there are many people in prison with nothing to lose who might take advantage of the situation to harm Diddy. Moving him out of isolation could introduce unforeseen dangers, and if anything were to happen, the person who made the decision could be held liable. This is a serious concern that no one wants to face. Clearly, Diddy wants out of jail, but as he prepares for a trial where he pleads not guilty, this makes everything more complicated. Being incarcerated creates significant challenges in preparing his defense. His lawyers face many obstacles, from securing confidential communications to navigating complex security measures just to meet with their client. There are cases like Young Thugs in Georgia, where attorneys needed to be close to their client to effectively prepare. From a legal perspective, being held in these conditions could affect Diddy's right to fully prepare for his case. His lawyers might argue that this situation hampers his ability to get ready for trial. They could request that Diddy be temporarily released to prepare for court. Ensuring that defendants don't evade justice is crucial, but it's also essential that Diddy is given the proper environment to prepare his defense. Some prison calls are recorded, whether with family or friends, and could contain incriminating information. We've also heard of inmates eavesdropping or reading each other's notes. Do you think prosecutors are closely monitoring Diddy while he's detained, looking for anything that could help their case? They're likely being extremely careful and don't want to miss a single detail. If I were his lawyer, I'd advise Diddy not to discuss his case over the phone, as that's a major risk. While Diddy has the right to speak privately with his attorneys, if prosecutors listen in, they might uncover key information that Diddy doesn't want exposed. This would make defending him far more difficult. Interestingly, we've heard a lot from the prosecution about the evidence they have, but not much from the defense side. Diddy is still presumed innocent until proven guilty. The prosecutors claim they have substantial evidence from witnesses. What do you think about this? Feel free to share your thoughts. Number 3. Diddy posted $50 million for bail, but was denied. After his arrest, Diddy pleaded not guilty and immediately filed for bail. His legal team put together an enormous bail package, proposing that Diddy would post $50 million for his release. This amount was co-signed by Diddy, his sister, his mother, his 3 adult sons, and the mother of 2 of his children. The defense also proposed strict conditions, including GPS tracking and limiting contact with women. However, Judge Andrew L. Carter denied the request, stating that the bail amount wasn't enough to ensure Diddy wouldn't flee or interfere with the investigation. With a new judge now assigned to the case, there's a possibility the bail package could be reconsidered. However, the new judge might be even stricter since the previous one already denied the request. Judge Robin Tonsky also previously refused bail, citing concerns about Diddy's apparent anger issues and history of substance abuse. She expressed fears that Diddy could pose a danger to the community and potentially tamper with witnesses. If the new judge approves bail, questions of fairness could arise. While $50 million is a substantial amount, the core issue remains whether Diddy can be trusted to return to court. Many individuals are willing to pay large sums to avoid jail time, and it's clear that Diddy has the financial resources to flee if he chooses. The judge must weigh whether, even with these restrictions, Diddy could still be a flight risk. Though the defense understands the reasons for the previous denial, they may approach the issue differently this time. We'll have to wait and see if the new judge allows bail for Diddy. His lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, has announced that he's appealing to the Federal Court of Appeals to overturn Judge Carter's ruling and secure Diddy's release. He is also trying to move Diddy to a different prison, though that request has not yet been granted. What do you think about this? Do you believe Diddy deserves to be granted bail? Share your thoughts. Number 1. Judges are concerned that Diddy might flee. As previously mentioned, Diddy has been denied bail twice. Both judges expressed concerns that he has the financial resources and means to flee, including access to private jets. This is a valid concern for the judges, as no one wants to face backlash for letting someone with the potential to escape avoid justice. Although the principle of innocent until proven guilty still applies, deciding whether Diddy should be granted bail is a complicated matter. Some judges are naturally cautious with wealthy defendants who might be tempted to flee. However, there are monitoring options, such as ankle bracelets or GPS tracking devices, that could provide alternative solutions. If Diddy can pay for these security measures, it could open the door to his release. What's notable is that despite Diddy's immense wealth and resources, there hasn't been a solution proposed that would allow him to be placed under house arrest. While that might sound like special treatment, keeping someone like Diddy in prison is also a financial burden on taxpayers. Additionally, he cannot be housed with the general prison population, where many inmates might try to exploit his situation. Perhaps his $800 million fortune and connections could help create a solution, such as building a private facility just for him. Nevertheless, the court has refused to make any exceptions and is treating him like any other person, regardless of his financial standing. For the judges, this is a no-win situation. They must act cautiously and keep him detained out of fear that he might flee. This creates a difficult scenario where some individuals can be granted bail, but still live as though they are incarcerated. Looking back, Diddy's properties were raided by federal investigators in March, so he was clearly aware of the situation. If Diddy intended to flee, he had 6 months between the raids and his indictment to do so. His defense team could argue that he had plenty of opportunities to escape, but chose not to. This shows he's willing to comply with all court orders, even paying for his own security measures, because he believes in his innocence. The law requires that Diddy not be treated differently simply because there is more evidence against him than others. Prosecutors shouldn't pursue the case unless they are confident they can win. When dealing with a high-profile figure, the pressure is immense, and they must be careful with every step they take. If they prosecute an innocent person and are later proven wrong, the consequences will be severe. Prosecutors need to ask themselves if they have enough evidence to secure a conviction. Going to trial shouldn't just be a formality. They need to be confident in their case and able to prove it convincingly. A jury might not believe them, which could lead to an unfavorable outcome for the prosecution. Importantly, Diddy has not yet been found guilty of the charges against him. After his arrest, his lawyer, Mark Newman, stated that Diddy is a music icon, entrepreneur, father, and contributor to the community. He emphasized that Diddy is not a criminal and has fully cooperated with the investigation. He urged the public not to rush to judgment until all the facts are known, as Diddy is innocent and is determined to clear his name. Diddy is expected to appear in court next week for another hearing related to his case. So, there you have it, the 10 latest details about Diddy's life in prison. What do you think of what I've shared? What are your thoughts on rapper Diddy and his scandals? Don't forget to leave a comment and share your opinions. Thanks for watching our video, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on our latest content. See you in the next video.